Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis will begin Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom, Ramid Rav Yochanan. So we previously learned that in the case of the vines that were stretched on the poles, so we had the mice over there that by the biggest base Chorasan, 4 poles were stretched and were rather stuck into the ground on each corner, 4 poles, and there were vines that were stretched for each of the poles. So this is considered an enclosed area. Is it considered enclosed? Legabi Kilayim. Is it considered lahaloch enclosed? Legabi Shabbos. So the had machlokes Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan. According to Reish Lakish, it is enclosed both legabi Kilayim, meaning that one can plant one species within the enclosure and something else outside, and it's not Kilayim because they're separate areas. This is considered a distinct area. And legabi Shabbos also one can carry within that area because it's considered to be enclosed, completely enclosed. Rav Yochanan said legabi Kilayim, he agrees, but not legabi Shabbos. So the last approach that we had was to say that we're talking where the openings are not more than 10 amas. So in each area between the two, on each area between the poles, it's not more than 10 amas. What is the machlokes? It's whether this is considered a complete Surah of Pesach, where the vine was not stretched from the top to the top, so it was not stretched from one end to the other on top, but rather it was tied to the side of it. It was tied to the side. Is this considered to be valid or not? So Reish Lakish says it is. And Rav Yochanan says that no, legabi Kilayim, yes, but not legabi Shabbos. That's the last approach that we had. Well, based on that, frankly, Gemara, Ramid Rav Yochanan, Rav Yochanan, Reish Lakish, Reish Lakish, Tom Reish Lakish, Mishum Rav Yehuda Bar Chanina. He said, if you have peya mutaras Kilayim, if you have a braided vine stretched from one post to the other, it's mutaras Kilayim of Eloi l'Shabbos. So here, Reish Lakish says only Kilayim and not Shabbos. Now, previously he said in the case of Beis Chorasan for both. Rav Yochanan Amar ki mechitza Shabbos deloi kach mechitza leKilayim deloi. And Rav Yochanan says just like legabi Shabbos it's not valid, legabi Kilayim it's not valid. Now, previously he held that legabi Kilayim it is. So we seem to have a steer in both Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish. So how can we resolve it? So Bishlam of the Reish Lakish like Kasha, we can answer it Hadidei Hadarabi. He himself holds that really is considered a mechitza for both. But this case over here, it's Mishum Rav Yehuda Bar Chanina. So this Mishum the Rabbi. He himself argues though. El Rav Yochanan Kasha, but according to Rav Yochanan himself, we seem to have a steer. So, Bishlam Hasam al Gabon Hachamin Atzad Shabi. Now, if you would say, how would you resolve it? If you would say that the previous case is talking where the vine is on top, it's stretched on top. So there it's considered a valid mechitza, at least legabi Kilayim, but not legabi Shabbos. Now, why would it not be considered to be a valid mechitza legabi Shabbos? Only if you say it's more than 10. Because if it's within 10, if it's on top, it has to be a valid source of Pesach, it should be matir. So let us resolve, therefore, that Rav Yochanan holds that a source of Pesach does not help if the opening is more than 10. Because how will we want to resolve it? We want to say that over there in the case of Beis Chorasan, why does Rav Yochanan say it's valid in Kilayim? It's talking where it's on top. It's on top, so legabi Kilayim is valid. Legabi Shabbos it's not. Why would it not be valid? That's because it's more than 10. And over here we're saying Hasam al Gam Hach Min Atzad. And over here it's talking where it's Min Atzad. So Rav Yochanan holds it's not valid at all. It's not valid for either of them. So Shampir Amrat Id Min Atzad. But if you want to resolve it like we said before, then both cases it's talking Min Atzad. That even the case of Beis Chorasan is talking Min Atzad. Mai Ikalamemar. How can we resolve it? Elamai. You must say that the case of Beis Chorasan is talking where it's on the top, And Rav Yochanan still says it's not valid. Legabe Shabbos, how can it not be valid if it's on top of the proper tzuras of Pesach? It must be that the opening is more than 10. And let us prove from that, therefore, the Rav Yochanan holds that if there's a opening more than 10, even if there is a kosher tzuras of Pesach, it's not valid. Yeah, the Gemara said no. Lo olam yidi v'yidi min atzad. Really, I'm telling you, in both cases, it's min atzad. If it would be on top, maybe I'll tell you that Rav Yochanan holds that even if it's more than 10, it would be matter, it's valid. But Hasa, even it's not Hasa be'eser, Hacham be'yesem be'eser. Over there, it's talking where it's not more than 10. Therefore, legabi kilayim, it's mutter. Over there, so we're talking even min atzad. It's not a complete source of Pesach. It's only min atzad. Over there, it's be'eser. It's talking where it's not more than 10. Therefore, Rav Yochanan holds that legabe kilayim, nevertheless, it's still kosher because it's not more than 10. But here it's talking it's more than 10. So it's min atzad. It's not on top. It's not a complete source of Pesach or a lechachila source of Pesach, and it's more than 10. Rav Yochanan says it's not even valid for kilayim. Where do we see that we're machalik between 10 and more than 10? And he went to Rav Shua, went to Rav Yaakov to learn Torah, even though he was a baki in Hilchos Kalayim, but he went to Rav Yochanan ben Nuri. And he was sitting between, he found him sitting between the trees, and he stretched a vine, a branch between one tree to the other. If in the middle of that section is a grapevine, they're planting grapes, can you, on the other side of it, plant another mint, plant wheat, for instance? He said, if the opening is within 10, it's mutter. If it's more than 10, it's awesome. So what's the case here? If you're telling me that the vine was stretched on top of it, the branch was on top of it, how can you say more than 10, it's also? We learn beferish in the Baraisa, if you had a pointed poles that came to a point, and he stuck it into the ground, and he stretched on top of it a braided vine on top of it. So he stretched on top of it a braided vine that was like a rope, served like a rope from covering it, and made it Tzuras Pesach. Even more than 10, it's mutter. So you see clearly the Gabi Kalayim, if you have a Tzuras Pesach, even more than 10, it's mutter. So that can't be the case over here. Allah minatzad. Must be that it was now tied, not on top of it, was minatzad, on the side. V'kamer be'eser mutter. Yeser me'eser also shmamina. So you see clearly that it's, even though it's minatzad, the Gabi Kalayim, it's mutter, but provided that it's not more than 10 amas of open space. Gufam Rav Chisda, Tzuras HaPesach shel min atzad lo yasu like klum. Rav Chisda said that Tzuras HaPesach, it has to be on top of the poles. It can't be attached to the side, it has to be on top. So if he did it on the side, lo yasa v'lo klum. V'amar Rav Chisda, another halach, he says Tzuras HaPesach she'amr tzrich shtei brik dei lahamid vadels. It has to be strong enough, the posts have to be strong enough so that you can attach a door to it. Even if the door is made out of straw, but it has to be able to support a minimal kind of door, but it has to be able to support a door. It has to have hinges. My heker avakta. He says it has to have, in those days they used to have like a hole in the threshold, and they put the pivot into the hole, and the door used to swing on and turn on this pivot in the hole. So it has to have the hole in the threshold in order to be able to. You have to be able to place the door and to have the door place inserted over there. That's what he held. Yeah. Omar Rav Avia Avakta, he says Avakta. Ashchin Rav Acha Breda Rav Avia Le Talmid Rav Ashi Omar Hu Omar Mar Mida B'Tzuras HaPesach. So they asked him, did he say any halacha l'gabe Tzuras HaPesach? Omar Lei Loi, Loi Omar Loi Klum. He didn't say any chiddush. He didn't say any chiddush l'gabe Tzuras HaPesach. That's one approach in the Rishonim. The other approach in the Rishonim is that he does not agree with this halacha of the hinge of the Avakta of the Heker Tzir. So he says it has to have one post and another post, and it has to have an agmashkaf on top. It has to have another post coming on top. So that is a tzuras Pesach. That's a tzuras Pesach. So he had a shayla. Well, that's a tzuras Pesach. Tzrichan liga or ain't tzrichan liga? Does it have to touch the post, or can you have a space? Can there be a space on top? And maybe it's not touching the tzuras Pesach over here. Maybe this is just attached to the walls, but it's not coming down. They're not extended to each other. That was his shayla. So Rav Nachman Omar ain't tzrichan liga. He says it doesn't have to touch. Rav Sheshes Omar tzrichan liga. He says it does. Also Rav Nachman Levaver over the Bereish Galus Kishmait says Rav Nachman, he went and he fixed a tzuras Pesach in the house of the Reish Galusa. He went according to his shita and he made two side posts and he did make the crossbar touching. It wasn't touching. Omar Rav Sheshes L'Sham Rav Gada. He told his servant Rav Gada Zil Shleif Shadino. He said, take it down. Because he held that it wasn't kosher. Also, shalav shadina. So he took it down and threw it on the ground. Ashkein Rav Sheshes the Rav Shmuel. So Rav Sheshes came on Rav Shmuel. Omrlei Tanimar Midav Tzuras Pesach. Did you teach anything about Tzuras Pesach? Omrlei in. He said yes. Mitanina we learned Kipa Ramer Mechayv Mezuzah v'Cham Paicha. If you have an archway, are you chayv mezuzah or not? So now the basic halacha on to be chayv mezuzah, it has to be on an opening. An opening has to have a width of at least 4 tefachim and a height of at least 10 tefachim. If you have an archway, the shaila is that chayv mezuzah or not? So what would be a scenario here with the archway? So let's assume that we have here's an archway here. Assume that this is a wall. Either you can view this one or this one. And so this is a wall, and this is a floor, and now you have an opening that is curved. It's curved. Now, if you have four tefachim in the width and 10 in the height, then that's a doorway. Now there's a machlekes if this is chayv and mezuzah or not. So what is the machlekes? So now more will qualify this. So Rameir says it's chayv and Chum say it's potter. V'shavin shimyesh b'raglei asara shechayavis. If it has a height of 10, now before it starts to curve, before it narrows, when it curves it's narrowing, so now on the bottom it's wider. If it has a width over here of dalet, and before it rises 10, it is still wide, 4 wide. So it has a width of 4 and a height of 10. If it only narrows above 10, so then there's no machlekes. Shechayeves, everyone will give you chayev because you have an opening that is 4 wide and is 10 high. The fact that it narrows further up is of no consequence. Well, it's no consequence to the din of mezuzah, but it is of consequence to this machlekes that we just had, because if you say that it narrows over here, so where is the lintel? The lintel is in the area up here. This is the area This is the lintel of this. You're saying that the Pesach is only where it's dalet wide. If where it curves, it's less than dalet. This is not the lintel. The lintel is up here, and it's suspended. That means that the mashkav is not touching the side posts. The mashkav is not touching the side posts. So you see clearly, like Rav Nachman, not like Rav Sheshes, you see clearly that the mashkav doesn't have to touch the side posts. So the Gabi Mezuzah, that Shom Sheyesh Baragla Sara Shechayevs. Amar Abaye says, Akol Maidi Megavaya Sara Vein Baragla Shloisha. Everyone says that if it's Gavaya Sara, but it narrows already when it's close to the ground, within 3 of the ground, it already is less than 4. It narrows already close to the ground. It already narrows, so it doesn't even have a height. It doesn't even have a width, rather, of 3 from the ground. Or alternatively, then they agree that if it has 4 wide from 3 from the ground, but it's not 10 high. It doesn't have a height of 10. So the basic requirement of a Pesach to be Chai Mezuzah, it has to have a width of 4 and a height of 10. If this is not 10 high from the ground, then this is not a Pesach. If it doesn't at least have 4 wide, 3 above the ground, it has no characteristic of a Pesach. So v'loi klum, there's no chiyuv. Ki pligi, what are they arguing? V'yesh baragla gimel gavoy asar. Where it is 3 from the ground, it has 4 wide than 3 from the ground, and it only narrows less than 4, more than 3 from the ground. Ve'ein, and it is high, ve'gvoyas, and it's 10 high. Ve'ein rachba arba, but it's not 4 wide along the whole height of 10. It's not 4 wide. It is 10 high here, but it's not 4 wide here. It's 4 wide here at the bottom. It's 4 wide up past 3 tefachim, but not up to the height of 10 past 3. It doesn't have the height of 10. It's not 4 wide. So that's the machlekes. But there's enough solid area that if you would carve out this area, you would have a height of 10, a width of 4, with a height of 10. Rameir says, once you have the beginnings of a Pesach, so it's 4 wide here, it's 4 wide, and it continues up above 3. It narrows here. View this as that you chisel it out, you carve it out, and now it has the width of 4 up to 10. And Rabbanan say, they say, no, we don't apply this chaykim lahashlim if it doesn't have, it's not open, physically open, with a height of 10, 4 wide with a height of 10. The fact that you could carve out this area is of no consequence. That's a machlekes l'gabe Moses. But what do you see in any event? That if this is 10 high, if it has a width of 4, 10 high, then you say this is considered a Pesach Yechayv Mezuzah. Now, where's the mashkav? The mashkav is above here, because over here it's too narrow. So where is this is narrow, so where is the mashkav? It's above it. Now it's suspended. So you see, like Rav Nachman, not like Rav Sheshes, you see that the mashkav does not have to touch the side posts. Rav Sheshes said to Rav Shmuel, so he saw that he made a mistake by the house of Reish Galusa. He says, Mishkachaslu, if you meet that, people from the Reish Galusa, Reish Galusa, Mahamas Nisan de Kiba. Don't tell them about this, because then I'll be in trouble, because I tore down their source of Pesach incorrectly, because the mashkav does not have to touch the side posts.